Good morning and welcome to NismoTV, the first of our Google Hangouts we're going to have for the Nissan ZEOD program, and throughout the course of the development of this brand new car that'll debut at next year's 24 Hours of Le Mans, we'll be catching up with some of the leading players who are going to be playing a key role in the development of this car. It's a very good morning and welcome to Darren Cox, Nissan's Global Motorsport Director. Good morning, DC.
Good morning, Paul.
And we also have Ben Bowlby, who is the Nissan's Director of Motorsport Innovation and, of course, the designer of this new car, which will electrify Le Mans next year's 24 Hours of Le Mans. Good morning, Ben.
Yeah, morning, Paul. Morning, Darren.
Of course, through the wonderful technology of Google Hangouts, and this is very much a global program. We've got Ben at his base in Indianapolis. Darren is on site at Silverstone in the UK, and I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia. So, Darren, it is very much a global project. It's not only the US and the UK. There's also a very heavy involvement from Nismo in Japan. How important is this from a Nissan perspective? That this is very much a global project, and obviously the 24 Hours of Le Mans is one of the biggest races on the globe as well.
Yeah, very much a global project. We've got people in the UK working on this project. Obviously, Ben, absolutely critical to this project, working out of the US, and our friends and colleagues in Nismo in Japan as well. So it's modern technology really that's enabling us to be very efficient and very speedy in our reactions. And actually, we are working literally round the clock on this project in different locations and in different time zones. So it's very important that this is a global project. So if you actually boil down motorsport projects in a number of companies, they're not truly global, and we're trying to globalise as much as possible our activity at Nissan. This is one example. Another example, today Lucas Ordonez is currently racing in the US, so a Spanish guy racing in an American formula. We've got Jan Mardenborough, another of our Nismo athletes, GT Academy graduates, on a plane on the way to Japan to test a Super GT car. So yeah, very important that Nissan is a global manufacturer and that we're really focusing globally on different projects, specifically this ZEOD one.
Well, Ben, speaking about the global nature, you're a man that's probably going to be kind of clocking up more frequent flyer miles than anyone on the planet over the next 12 months. Tell us a bit about the Nissan ZEOD RC. It was launched at this year's 24 Hours of Le Mans. What exactly is it, and how are we looking to kind of reshape motor racing as we know it?
Well, you're not asking a simple question then to start off with. I mean, at the end of the day, well, first of all, this whole ability to use technology to achieve an objective is really one of the biggest parts of the story. I know Dan's already spoken about it, but you imagine how we have got these different activities going on around the world, and in fact we're not only burning jet fuel to make it happen, we are actually able to work electronically from different locations and coordinate our activities. So this is part of the whole story of the coming of age of this sort of technology, and in taking on an endeavour like the 24 Hours of Le Mans in an incredibly efficient way. So when you look at what the ZEOD really stands for, obviously a zero-emission on-demand race car, but it's also about showcasing where the state of art is in terms of high performance, in this case electric and internal combustion engine combined automobiles. And we're going to compare ourselves, not in direct competition, but in the Garage 56 showcase category for new technology, innovative technologies. So we are in our own class, but we will be comparing our performance to the best in the world at Le Mans in the 24-hour race in 2014.
I think it's worth, Ben, adding to what you said. I mean, the previous project we worked on was literally done across the Atlantic, and we not actually met before the launch of the project. So this different way of working, I think, really is something that Nissan is starting to lead in. And again, the globalization. The previous project we had Japanese guys working on it. We had one of the key Nissan people is a Brazilian engineer, and I think we really are good at utilising the different skills we have around the world, and long may that continue. And I think actually, Ben, you should have a line of clocks behind you with all the different times in all the different locations around the world. Then it would properly be like some sort of villain's lair in the Bond movie.
I got to tell you, actually, we're about to do that because it's impossible to remember, whether somebody's gone to bed or not, or the 24-hour nature of the business is such that some of my design guys are in California, so I actually do a video conference call via Google. It's sort of 9-10 o'clock at night when it's their evening time, and they're just settling down for a good night of surfacing, rendering vehicles.
Darren, one of the other key differences with this program, one of the things we're going to be focusing on, talk a little bit about how we're going to be going behind the scenes and letting the fans actually kind of basically have a look behind the curtain as to exactly kind of what goes on in the development of a car like this.
Well, to be quite honest, this is the first step in that. We would like to work towards a regular dialogue with the fans of this project, and hopefully this is the first step in that. But certainly in the past, a lot of manufacturers hide what they're doing on their motorsport program until they actually go out on track and compete. What we're going to try and do, and it really is a test, so we'll get it wrong, so we want feedback from the fans about what they want to see, what they don't want to see. Do they really want to see Ben sat in his design office? Do they really want to see me sat in a 370Z? What do they want to see in terms of this program? We'll try and show them that. So we're planning at the moment for the first time that the car runs for our camera crews to be there to record that and to share that with our fans around the world as soon as we possibly can after that test.
So throughout the course of the program, we're going to be soliciting questions via Twitter. Of course, you can follow the project at Nissan ZEOD RC, and also on Facebook if you do a search for Nissan ZEOD RC. That will also get you to where we'll be bringing you up to date with all the latest. And of course, go to NismoTV, where you not only see everything about ZEOD, but you'll see everything about Nissan's global motorsport program, and lots of great content from the Blind Pine series, the FIA GT series, and everything else that Nissan is involved with right around the world. So we've got a few questions that have come in from the Nismo TV viewers via the comments, and the first one from a gentleman by the name of Bruce Wayne. I'm not sure if that's Batman or not, but the question is, does it come in black? So what is the livery going to be? We've seen it in white so far. So are we going to see some changes, or will it be like the last project? Well,
I think Batman probably wants the car to come in back if it is Bruce Wayne in black. But we will see the car changing in a number of different ways, not just the colour. And of course, at the moment, the car that we've shown is very much a concept car, if you like, in terms of its decals. It will add lots more logos on the car, and of course we'll start to have numbers on the car when it becomes a racing car. So I would say stay tuned to these Google Hangouts, to Nismo TV, and you'll see the car really change, not just in the look of the car, but also the decals that are on the car. So watch your space. So
another question that's come in, and Ben, we'll get you to kind of chime in on this one and probably explain a little bit more the ZEOD, the zero emission on-demand concept. It's from a YouTube user, Jam63112. He says, I just wonder how many battery changes it requires to make 24 hours, especially during the night. How exactly are we going to see the electrification of Le Mans?
Well, of course, you know that there has not yet been an all-electric lap of Le Mans ever done. So when we do this first lap of Le Mans purely under electric power, it will actually be a world record, which is quite exciting just as a prospect that we will be the first. And we're very grateful for that opportunity. It's a bit like how many, I don't know, what does it take to change a light bulb or whatever, you wait for the world to turn. No, we will not actually change the batteries in the car at all. And you say, well, how on earth is that possible? How will you recharge? Because the fact is, you can store just enough energy in a battery to achieve one lap of Le Mans. And this is just telling us how much energy it takes to do a lap of Le Mans, 13.5 kilometers at somewhere around 135 miles an hour average speed. It's an enormous amount of energy, and the battery is a limited storage device. And so what we're actually doing here is we are going to prove the capability of the power, drivability, and so on of an electrically driven battery electric vehicle. And for the other 12 laps of the tire stint, we will actually use a gasoline-powered, tiny little 3-cylinder internal combustion engine. And I think that the zero emission that occurs for that one lap under battery electric power is an example of what will be possible for a consumer in their personal mobility requirements to be able to go for zero emissions on demand, hence the name of the car, where you switch from using a liquid fuel like gasoline, burning it in an internal combustion engine, to a truly zero emission situation for a city driving or whatever. And that is, of course, what we're actually going to be proving. It's that marriage of the technology of the battery to give us the zero emission and the range from the gasoline liquid fuel ICE.
Ben and Darren, we talked about the zero emission on demand concept, but one of the other factors of the program, or one of the features, is we're going to examine a number of different battery technologies, number of different options over the next over the period through to June next year at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, to investigate various different options that we could actually kind of use in a race situation. Explain what's on the drawing board.
Paul, it's actually quite important to differentiate between the battery technology that we're going to be using and the rest of the system for taking the power from gasoline via the internal combustion engine and converting that into electric power. First of all, we are going to be using the lithium-ion pouch technology battery cells that are what's used in the Nissan Leaf. And that is probably going to remain a constant. We're pretty much committed to that as being the battery technology. So we're not going to be changing that. What we're actually working on is the method of integrating and extending the range through the use of the gasoline internal combustion engine. The question is, do we, for example, spin a generator with the ICE that then charges the battery and that then we have electric drive, or do we go for what you might describe as a parallel system where you have the ICE drive the wheels and then stop driving the wheels and let the battery and electric motors drive the wheels of the car? And you know, so this is like the debate between a series where you use gasoline to make an internal combustion engine, turn the generator, charge a battery, power an electric motor, or do you say, okay, it's a parallel system, ICE drives the wheels, or the battery electric drives the wheels? And then there's even one other combination that we're researching that might even be another very exciting way forward. And you know, this project is still in its learning phases. Nobody has done an electric lap of Le Mans. It's incredibly difficult to do, and we have to find the technology balance to manage that energy that we have to achieve our lap time, and it's a very complicated balance. And so, you know, truly this is an innovation opportunity, it's a learning opportunity, and it will have great ramifications down the road for Nissan racing projects in the future, I'm sure. And you know, we've just got to learn what the best solutions with the technology that we can lay our hands on today really are, what those solutions might be.
Darren, talk about how the technology being developed in this car, how is that going to transfer across to the Nissan road cars that we're going to be driving in the future?
Well, I think we've said before that at the moment the strange thing we've got is that race cars actually are using technology out of road cars. So road cars actually are ahead of race cars because the regulations are so tight. So a hybrid was seen on a road car before it was seen on a race car. Now that can't continue. Motorsport needs to be there as a way of proving new technology that then can be transferred to the road, and that's the position that Nissan have taken. I think we really are in a a point now where everybody's realizing that electric technology, whether that be batteries, whether that be motors, needs to move quickly. And there are a number of different projects that are electrifying motorsport. Whether you take Formula E, whether you take the recent Pikes Peak activity, there was lots of cars going up there that were fully electric. Whether you take this, whether you take Lord Drayson's record attempt that he did recently, over 200 miles an hour, just purely on electric power. So we've got zeitgeist, if you like. Everyone's trying to do this on electric power, and it really is a space race, if you like. And Nissan have recognised that we, as leaders on the road for electric technology, can speed up our development for our road cars by really pushing the boundaries on our race cars. And that goes back to the proper reason for going motor racing, not just entertainment, as NASCAR and Formula One are today, but actually to improve the breed. And in this case, it's improved the breed through electric vehicle technology.
It's been stated that this is going to be the world's fastest electric racing car. The Drayson guys just set a new kind of land speed record kind of recently. Obviously, we're going to see this car raced at over 300 kilometres an hour at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Will we actually see a record attempt for this car as well? Where else could we see the Nissan ZEOD RC in action? I
think the simple, straightforward answer to that is yes. That record that Lord Drayson has set is well within our reach. So when we're done with the biggest endurance race in the world and racing around for 24 hours, we'll have a look and see what else we can do, including that record. So yeah, we've already got in mind some of the big events that are out there that basically are mountains to go and climb, or the space race, as we say. So we think it's great that Lord Drayson set a benchmark that we will go and attack. Just got to get this small thing of a 24-hour race in the middle of France done first in the middle of June, and then we'll move our attention to other things.
Okay, one more question from a NismoTV commenters. A question from Steve Main, and this is probably one for Ben. He wants to know, and this may be kind of similar to the previous kind of question where we were talking about kind of swapping out batteries, but are there any regulations about swapping out any physical parts of the car during the course of the race?
Well, it's a very interesting question because, of course, we are in the Garage 56 outside the conventional regulations. So, for example, the main case of the gearbox for a conventional car running inside the regulations may not be changed, nor may the cylinder block. And nor may the chassis itself. So, you know, there are regs that control the exchange of parts when you're racing inside the regulations. We actually are outside the regulations. So you could argue that we are able to change any part of the car. However, our objective is to race as closely as possible to the regulations, even though we're not bound by them. We could swap out our battery pack, in fact, very quickly. I suppose if we do have a failure of a component, we will have the option to bring the car back in on ICE and swap out the battery pack if we have to. It's not planned. We're not intending to do that at a strategic point during the race distance, but we can do it if we have to. And to that end, I suppose we could also change gearbox components and things if we have trouble there. We could certainly change electric drive motors, brake rotors, whatever else we landed up having problems with over the 24 hours. But again, the car has been designed to meet the true spirit of a 24-hour race, where the car's endurance is proven over consecutive hours, only adding fuel and changing tires. So and changing drivers, by the way. Obviously, we'll cycle through some drivers too. But at the end of the day, it's an outside competition, but to the spirit of the Le Mans 24-hour competition.
I think that's an interesting point, Ben. I mean, first of all, one of the questions I'm surprised we haven't been asked is who's driving this car. We're going to announce that in due course. So we've got a number of drivers within the Nismo athlete team, of course, and the Nissan group of drivers that we could choose from. So we'll announce that in the future. But something you mentioned there about proving technology is something we're learning already is, and we're doing a lot of testing on this, is how does the battery manage when it's being drained massively quickly over this short period of time and then being recharged very, very quickly. And that's a huge thing that we can learn. Obviously, that's not something you would get necessarily in a Leaf because the drain is less severe, but that means that we're just speeding up our learning on that, and that's very interesting. We're doing that already. Before the car's even built, the batteries are being tested, and we're cycling those batteries through what would be a normal cycle within the Le Mans rules. And we've learned a huge amount already. So even to this point, which looks like an early point in the project, actually we're doing a huge amount of work that will help us go forward. And yes, it's very interesting, the endurance side of things, and it's amazing. We've got cars out on circuit here at Silverstone, and I'm in the UK, and the weather is very hot, so I haven't got my air conditioning on today to run my battery down. But yeah, it's certainly something that we need to bear in mind, this endurance side of things, both for the drivers, which we'll announce in due course, but also for that technology, because something like the Drayson run, actually, you know, you've got to use that battery once during one run, then you use the battery again during the second run, and then that's it. You could almost chuck that battery away. The battery is going to be charged, recharged, discharged, used, not used, and that is a completely different cycle on that battery, and that's why we don't want to change it during the race. We want to learn from that 24 hours of really testing that battery and all the other components in the car under that sort of focus and pressure. So no, we will aim not to change the battery, but we will change the drivers.
Darren, talk a little bit about the drivers. You know, we said we're not going to announce who is going to be the pilots behind the wheel for a little while yet, but we do have pretty much an embarrassment of riches, and you have a like a bit of a production line of stars of the future coming through the GT Academy program on a regular basis. Talk a little bit about that. You know, we've got the finals kind of coming up shortly at Silverstone, but some of the recent results from some of the graduates in that program really have been kind of quite astounding.
Well, I think the shortcut answer to that question, Paul, before I actually boil alive in this 370Z that I'm sat in at the moment, is that have a look on NismoTV. I mean, I've just been watching the highlights of the Spa 24 Hours, which we podiumed in Pro-Am. Probably more impressive, we were 7th overall in that race, ahead of, I think there was in the end 67 cars in that race. We finished 7th overall. So that was with a team of 4 GT Academy drivers. Now, a lot of people on here would have heard of Lucas Ordonez, a few would have heard about Jan Mardenborough, but 2 of the guys in that car, this time last year, as I sit here at Silverstone, we hadn't even chosen those guys, and suddenly they're in an international motor race, racing against people like Bruno Senna, Mika Salo, top GT drivers from around the world, and they're going toe-to-toe with them. But 1 year ago, we didn't even know who they were, and that really is the beauty of this program. These gamers genuinely are great drivers, and our program and our development approach enables them to get straight into international races like the Spa 24 Hours in their first year of competition and compete with those names of those drivers I mentioned. And then the guys that are in their second and third years, we potentially have a podium at Le Mans to celebrate. We were 4th in the race. One of the cars in front of us is under appeal in terms of rules breakage, if you like, and you know, we could end up with a podium. But look on NismoTV, lots and lots of stories about these guys, lots of stories about our results, and over the next 3 or 4 months, some very big races that they're entering into, whether they be in America, whether they be in Japan, whether they be across Europe. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing the end results. At the moment, we've got a chance in a couple of championships, so it might not just be podiums we're celebrating, but it could also be championship wins.
Well, that's the first of our video Google Hangouts that we're going to do throughout the course of the Nissan ZEOD RC program. A very big thank you to Ben Bowlby, joining us from Indianapolis this morning.
Thanks, Paul. It's a very exciting project to talk about, and I think there's so many interesting technical details and storylines and of how it's going to get done, so different from traditional way of going motor racing, that it's always exciting to tell people about it.
And a big thank you to Darren Cox joining us from Silverstone.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I'd just like to say to the fans, please give us feedback on what you think of this. If you think this is a complete waste of time, please do tell us. If you think you'd like to see more of it, and if you do, what you'd like to see within these Google Hangouts or any other details about the project, please let us know. The idea is to involve you as much as possible in this project and give you access to people like Ben, who can talk in detail about the project before we get to Le Mans. So you really do feel part of this project way ahead of the car being on track at Le Sarthe in 2014.
Yeah, we'll be bringing you not only Ben and Darren, but a lot of the other kind of key players involved in the project over the next 12 months. So send us your questions in via Twitter at Nissan ZEOD RC, on Facebook, also under Nissan ZEOD RC, and go to NismoTV and under the comment section in whether it be this video or any of the other videos relating to the program. We look forward to hearing from the fans and giving you a complete kind of behind the scenes look into the development of this very unique race car.